Hi everyone, it's Stéphane Pompin from LuxTalks podcast. We are live today with episode 13 and I'm joined by Samantha Acton, who is the Director of Domestic Angels Franchising. Dear Samantha, thanks to be my guest today, and maybe we can start with you can tell us a bit about who you are and in what kind of business.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me today. It's very kind of you. So my name's Samantha, and my business, Domestic Angels Franchising, originated in 2002 as a solution to work-life balance, as many people do. And I started the business with a blank piece of paper with very, very little knowledge, and it built over the years. In actual fact, I walked away from corporate life because it stopped me from being with my son as much as I wanted to be, and to be the mum and the person that I wanted to be. It was suffocating me in many ways. So I jumped off the hamster wheel, and everybody was in a bit of shock and said, "What are you doing?" So actually, no idea, but we'll find out. And a very good friend of mine who's an entrepreneur called me round, and after one bottle of wine, she said, "So come on, seeing as you've got time on your hands, can you find a cleaner for me, please? Because I'm so busy with my business and my 3 kids and this huge house and stuff." And by the end of the second bottle of the wine, we'd come up with the name Domestic Angels. And it was really as simple as that. And then I just cracked on and learned. It is. It's great. It's great to do things instinctively and go with what the universe brings you and just follow your feelings. Just have confidence and go with it. So the business built over the years, as you do, very slowly in actual fact, because my priority was our son and running the household and my family, my mum, my dad, my brother, that kind of thing. And but it did keep growing, and I learned lots of things as I went along. So, for example, when I took a phone call from an inquiry, I would spend time afterwards just thinking about how somebody spoke, the intonation, the tone, the words they used, and how I responded, so that I could keep perfecting that. And then in 2012, we were crowned National Home-Based Business of the Year, which kind of really surprised me, because I'd never really thought about the fact that I was in business at that point. Domestic Angels was something I did to earn money, which is a different way of thinking about it. And then I tried to make the most of this award by doing PR,
using it to leverage a new business, maybe.
Exactly. And suddenly we were on this really amazing platform that was attracting attention and customers and all sorts of other complications that you get in business. And so we decided we needed a mentor. And we approached a setup that's called Dorset Mentoring. And basically, it's very, very low cost entry, supported by the local agencies and the government. And we were appointed a mentor who took a really good look at the business and did number crunching and things with numbers I didn't even know was possible. I didn't know. And assessed that actually the business was really healthy and doing absolutely fine. But to grow from here, if we continued to grow in the way that we were, what was inevitably going to happen is that it would keep being a pyramid like this, but just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, with layers of people. And I was going to have a disconnection between me and the customer, the end user, which didn't really feel very comfortable. So the mentor said, the other option is to franchise, so you multiply. Now, my first reaction was actually, don't bring the F word into my life, because I'd been to a franchise show in 2005 thinking, oh, maybe I'd want to do this. Maybe that's something that would be of interest. And I just found this huge pool of sharks who wanted to take a lot of money off of people and give not a lot in return. Yeah. So it took him a few months to convince me that it was the right thing to do and that I could do it in my own spirit, with my own ethos and values, and make sure that people had far more than was possible for the money that they were giving me, so that they had every chance of success. And the Bournemouth University MBA cohort got involved, and we were their live client for a year. They assessed the marketplace, they assessed the business, and fed back to us in a traffic light system about what was great and what was possibly need tweaking and what was possibly a danger zone that we needed to work on. So with this information, I was able to transform the business into a franchise in-house. I had managers and supervisors in place at that point in the main business, so I was able to create the time to do it. And I think this plays to my advantage because I know the franchise inside out because I made it.
Yeah, coming back to the fact that you set up your company, it's been running, you've reached a certain point, a certain growth, you have the award. Suddenly you are thinking about going into the franchise business, which is a bit different. You quitted your previous job because it was hard work and you wanted more freedom, more time for yourself. Were you not scared about going into the franchise business and then be overwhelmed by more work? Or was it the point where you had more time and you were able to do it?
No, I was never scared at all. I think the only time I was anywhere close to being scared in business was the first time I had to put my prices up, and the accountant turned up with a business consultant from another local agency where you can get support for free. He said, "Oh, I just want to present you your year-end accounts, Sam." And this was in August. I think our son was 5 or 6 years old at that point in time. And he showed me the figures and he said, "Can you not see what's going on here?" I said, "It's growing, isn't it?" And he said, "Yes, except you're losing money. You're not charging enough." I was like, "Oh." He said, "You need to make a decision either to close or put your prices up." And so I decided that at midnight that night, the prices would go up. So I got hold of a couple of friends who would like to look after our son for a few days. And I rolled my sleeves up and I just worked 20 hours a day and did it. I'm not afraid of doing hard work. I quite like a challenge.
Yeah. But how was it perceived by the customers, the fact that you increased your rates? Did you call them one by one, or how did you do it?
I sent them an email and nobody said a word. and I think over the years when I've put prices up, it's maybe been a couple of times that people have said, "Oh, no, thanks, not going to do that," because the increase is hardly anything. And it's just in line with the government uplift in costs anyway. So nobody's ever surprised or put out. And they're getting increases in pay as well. And do you know what? Quite often the ones that say, "Well, maybe no longer, thank you very much," are quite often the customers that you don't want around anymore. They take up too much time. I agree. It's a funny old nonsense, but it does. It tells you, "Oh my God, all that work I put into getting these customers, and now I'm going to charge them all. They're all going to go away." And it's, they're not actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's sometimes the concern, and I've been through that as well. Is to say, okay, do we do it or not? And I'm maybe the one in my couple, you know, we are working with my wife. It's the one say, "Oh, you know, we need to be a bit cautious," and she said, "Oh no, we need to increase our prices. You know, we need to keep up with, you know, the increase in cost of life, and otherwise we are going to lose money."
Yeah, so that's right. Yeah, and you need to be charging enough to cover your costs and make some profit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, otherwise, why are you doing it?
Exactly. Maybe can you tell us about, you know, a few things that you did not expect in your entrepreneur's journey? Things that you know, you didn't. I mean, maybe a lot, but maybe you know, a few points on where it was difficult or not.
Okay, so things I found out, I'll start with that one, is that I'd created a business, that I'm an entrepreneur, I didn't know that about myself. That's possibly been the biggest discovery along the way, is that this is a really natural thing for me to do. I've never been creative in my life, but creating business and creating business solutions is something I just do instinctively and I really enjoy. So I'm really in my happy place. Other things is that if you are positive and have an open mind, and it's like you can create yourself to be a magnet and the right things will come to you at the right time. So for example, the Bournemouth MBA cohort working with us in 2015, and they've just done another review with us, another piece of work, and it was just at the right time because we're about to expand. So of course the franchise needed another review to test it, to see what shape it's in for that growth, because growth is something that can really rumble the foundations of a business. So you might not have made them strong enough. So you have to keep going back and rebuilding. Things that are difficult, understanding that maths that the mentor did straight over my head. I really did struggle with that, but what you learn is I only have to understand it at that moment and then I can forget it, because that's why you have experts like that around.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be able to, at one point, to delegate and let the people that have more knowledge on certain fields to handle that part of the work. Otherwise, you are going to lose your time, and you have you have more value in other part of the business.
Yeah, exactly. If I was doing some website work last week, and I've never done the back end website work, but we need to look at it because we're looking at a particular process in absolute detail, and this process goes a lot across a number of platforms and other parts of the business, and so we've all got to take our bit of it. And I said, well, I'll have a go at that. I've never done that before, you've just got to get in there and have a go. But I won't do it for long, but I've got a better understanding of it, so that when an expert takes over again, I will know how to guide them a lot better. And I think that's something that's very important, and is a great asset to me, that I've nearly always taken the time to get an understanding. So when I first started in business, to run the payroll, because I wasn't going to invest any money in my business. I'd invest my time, but I wasn't going to invest the money. I went to HMRC, which is Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, for a day's course on how to run a wage roll. And you did it with huge sheets of paper and a pencil and a rubber back then. And I learned how to do it in detail, so I could do it. And I ran the payroll maybe for a year. But that was enough knowledge that by the time I farmed it out, every time the payroll came back from the people who took it on, I could spot a mistake at 12 paces, because I knew what I was looking for. And so that is really good. So whilst we need to have experts around us, because it's just too much knowledge to retain, in my opinion. And also we haven't always got natural skills in those areas, so you can understand it for about 30 seconds and then it's
like you said, I think it's very important to know every aspect of the business. I remember when I was in the moving industry, I used to go with the packers, from time to time, just spending the day with them, because you need to understand, what's their problems they have during the day. What are the customers' reactions to what has been done or not done properly. But in terms of marketing, website, to understand how more or less it works, help you to have a proper discussion. I mean, just before Christmas, we were nearly ready to invest in an IT program for our relocation business. And when I started to discuss with the IT specialists and to do the framework, as I knew how the IT system is supposed to work, and I quite like it, within 1 hour, I told them, sorry, I think you didn't understand what we want. Maybe your sales guy was really good, but I mean, we are not going to be able to work with you because it's not what we are looking for, and what you are offering me is too expensive for the purpose we want it for. So yeah, to have some knowledge is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And IT is a classic area where business people overspend because the products on the market are sort of like in line with a monthly mortgage repayment to have, and often have far more bells and whistles on than we need, or you're shoehorning your business into the processes that have been defined within the software. So it's never quite the right fit. Software is an interesting thing. So when we converted to franchise, I realized that we needed to have some IT to make it all work. We had an Access database we've been using for years, which was fine when we were a singular business, but as a franchise, that wasn't going to work. So we did the process definition ourselves. And that's the trick of it, is defining exactly what your processes are. And this is, again, it's a top thing to do as a business person, is know how to define your process, because it doesn't matter if you're going to franchise. It matters whether you're going to expand and maybe step away from the business so somebody else knows how to do it.
Yeah.
So a classic example for me as a British person is making a cup of tea. Okay, so step one in making a cup of tea is that you get the kettle, you put water in the kettle, you put the kettle on the heat or plug it in. Okay. Step two is you get the cup out of the cupboard, you put the tea bag in the cup, and then you put the milk in the cup. No, I never have the milk in the cup first before the boiling water. People do, but I don't. And your IT developer might. So you have to tell your IT developer that you have the milk afterwards. So you define it step by step by step. So the tea bag goes in the cup, the kettle boils, boiling water in the cup, leave it for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, remove the tea bag, add the milk. You have to be specific. And this is also if you're having somebody take your phone call. Yeah, lots of people do. You have to be specific about how you want it done so that it stays the way that you do it, because you are the culture, you are the driver. Your customers come to you for a good reason, because you do answer the phone in a certain way, you talk to people in a certain way, or you make a cup of tea in a certain way. And it's really important to do that. So we took the methodology of process definition and defined the processes for a whole raft of our business.
But it's also important to revise them on a regular basis. It's what we've been, after 4 years, a bit more than 4 years in business, when we were in lockdown, we had more time, and it's where we decided to review all our processes and to streamline them and to make them more efficient. And the same we have when we have a call with the first call with our customers. We have a binded piece of paper where we have the process, and it's the same for the whole team. They use the same process, so the customers have the same customer experience when they are talking to me or to one of the other consultants.
Everything needs revisiting. It's all about you get things evolved, and then there will be, well, what's the next thing, and you go to that, and then that might be impacting back. So there's a dynamic relationship between the processes across the business.
And now that you have been a number of years in the business, what you wished you had known when you started that maybe would have helped you?
Do you know, I find that one a tricky thing to answer, Stefan, because I couldn't have got to where I am today unless all of the things happened that did happen. If I'd known other stuff in advance, would I have had the same outcome?
True.
Don't know.
Yeah, true.
Don't know. And I'm very happy with the outcome that I've got. As you can see, I'm sat on my yacht, which is my floating office now. So now that the weather's warming up and through the summer, I'll go sailing and I work from my floating office, which is no bad thing, is it?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
On your journey, did you have any big failure that you were able to, of course, to overcome because you are still here? Something that had a big impact on the business, or maybe you were scared of when it happened?
No, this word fail, FAIL, first attempt in learning.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So anything that happens, and anything that happens, if it doesn't go right, it's not the right way to do it, is it? But you will have still learned something from it. We're currently working on a particular element of the business that we've been talking about drilling into for probably a year, but it didn't happen before a couple of weeks ago. And we were discussing just last week actually about, wish we'd got on with this sooner. I said, well, no, actually, you can't say that, because we weren't able to get on with it sooner because we had other demands, other things were happening.
That, not ready, or you didn't have the resources, or
exactly,
a lot of things.
Yeah, loads of different things. And if you start to force things too much, you tend to either burn yourself out or upset a whole load of people because it's not the right time. So you have to really feel what the energy is within your business and within yourself and within your team, and find the right moment. Okay, you can create the right moment if you really want to force it, but assess it. Is it really worth upsetting the balance that's going on? If things are going really well, we're saying, oh, right now we'll take this forward. I think you have to you have to get it right, and you have to feel it right. Don't force things unless you have to. Let things evolve naturally. Don't be lazy, don't sit back, but be careful of what you're doing, because the other output of that is if you keep driving, you will get overtired. I mean, how many business people have you met who have had heart attacks too young? They've burnt out, they've lost their house, they've divorced, all those kinds of things. And it tends to be that they have been too focused on that push, rather than making sure that everybody is taken care of and everything is taken care of. The focus needs to be broad rather than deep.
Yeah, I agree. And how is it as a mother and wife to be a business entrepreneur? I'm not saying this because you're a woman, but sometimes when in a couple, it can be a bit of challenge when one is working in a normal job and the other one is an entrepreneur, especially with someone like you who is full of energy.
Do you know what? My husband is fantastic. He's been so understanding over the years, and supportive, and very proud. So he's just been great. He's understood that this was a path that was clearly meant to be, and a path that I needed to tread. And yes, he's probably the one who would be able to tell you where the difficult times have been. He probably remembers them better. So it's enabled us as a family to function really, really well, because I've been able to create the time for as an individual in those two roles to make sure that there was the right food in the house and that everybody is calm at the dinner table. We didn't all arrive at the table going, oh, I've only just got here and stressed. It's like, I've got it calm, I've got it sorted. Everything pushed in the right direction so that my husband and son could be successful too. And that helps a lot. And also I'm able to create time when it's needed to listen and support. So our son is going into exams at university at the moment, and of course that's a bit of an experience, and he needs extra support. So he needs to be able to phone and go, Mum, I've forgotten a deadline, and I need to just stop everything and go, okay, let's sort it out. Where are you at? Have you got a plan? What do you need? And invariably, if I just say that in a calm manner, he just says, oh, I'm all right now. But because I can just disconnect myself from the business and
That's
be
very
calm,
important.
yeah, and be calm in that reaction, I'm able to support him to go forward and be successful. Whereas if I was still in the corporate career that I'd been in, I may not have been able to take the call, or it would have been very quick and yeah, a bit authoritarian. So I can be more human about it, which is lovely.
And coming back to the franchise, are you? Is it only franchise now that you have, or you are still running the first business you had?
No, I haven't got the first bit. That all got sold off, so it is just franchise. So we have our franchisees, and that's what we do, is we look after them. And as franchisors, we're constantly developing the background in different ways, and also where we're going in the future. So I'm keen at trying to visualize what's happening in the economy and how we should respond. So I tend to be looking 6 to 12 months ahead, and so thinking how things going to be, what's going to happen. And at the moment, I would say it's going to be reasonably stable now. So we've got a bit of an economic surge going on at the moment. That will sort of balance off, we'll all get normalized, and that will stay roughly the same probably the next 6 to 12 months. So for that reason, we're working on the experience and development of the next set of franchisees coming in, the new generation, who we're looking to meet at the moment, so that it can be really fantastic for them. An accelerated start opposed to what we've done before, and really get things moving fast so that they can be in the same position as me, working from wherever they want, and taking that time out for their families as they need to, because that's the whole idea, is that franchisees get to have the same benefits as me. And why not?
I agree. What must be interesting is to have a kind of, even if you cannot compare, but to have a comparison with the first onboarding of a franchisee and the one that you're onboarding now, because of course the processes, the marketing materials, everything must be different.
You just add more and more to it as you go along, and of course we've built more and more experience, and we know more and more about how to nurture franchisees to success at speed, and the way that we coach things, the way that we help them to sell their services. I mean, essentially, they need to get on and do it themselves. They need to just follow the process and crack on. However, we really like to give far more support than maybe other franchisors do, because once they're up and running and earning the money that they want to earn, there's no going backwards. It just moves forwards, and they've got everything to gain. And so the quicker that we can get them to that point, the better. So for that reason, we've actually increased the price of the franchise, because we're able to give so much more than we did with the first one.
And how do you select them? Is there something specific you are looking into when you are selecting them? Personality, kind of vision in what they want from their business, and all things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking for people who are real people. They're focused on customer service. They love talking to people. They've got that energy. A hospitality background is particularly good, because hospitality people just naturally want to make people happy and deliver good customer service. And that's not just to the clients who are paying, but it's also customer service to the staff. Because if you treat your staff as customers, in that same standard, they will behave in that way towards your clients and also towards you, so you have a much more meaningful relationship. We provide the framework in terms of the processes in our software. So the big part, and we do the bookkeeping for them, so they don't need to be able to do. It's funny that I took the numbers away. We do the bookkeeping for them, and we provide them with marketing material, and they get training courses on marketing, how to onboard the customer. So following the process is basically how to recruit, which again, it's in the software, but we take the franchisees through that, and doing PR, that kind of thing, and managing your staff, which is really good because you need good engagement. And then basically they run with it. It is really as simple as that. The complicated bit is actually the processes, which are all set in the software. And of course, we've got that covered. So yes, strong customer service skills, a desire to grow, and really happy to just get up every day and do some social media marketing, talk to new people, have energy, really want to grow their own home-based business that's going to give them control over their time and their lives and their money, which ultimately, as you said, results in freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We talked about business. Maybe we can go back in your life, which is how we started our discussion before the interview. Is you were an au pair.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit about this experience and how it affected who you are now?
Absolutely, because it's one of my favorite things, because this really was and continues to be a major event in my life. So I finished school, I was 18, and I really didn't know what to do. I was not drawn to university at that point, and I was completely spinning. I always worked, I would always keep a job in a bar or wherever. From about 14 years old, I was had a part-time job of some description. And I thought, well, okay, maybe I should travel, maybe I should do something like be an au pair. I can't remember where that original idea came from. So I bought something called the Lady magazine, which I believe still exists in the UK, but that was where you went those days if you wanted to find this kind of work or somebody to do this kind of work. And basically I got a big pen out and I circled the adverts for places that I actually didn't know where they were. So if you're going to go on an adventure, make it sure it's a proper adventure. And the two I circled was one for Stavanger in Norway and one for Seoul in Korea. And I was offered both jobs actually. In those days, it's just a telephone interview, and just voice. There was no cameras or anything. Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was the fact that the lady in Norway said, I asked her, why are you offering me this job? And she said, because you made me laugh. I thought, yeah, that'll do. So I sold my little car and bought my airplane ticket and flew out to Norway, where I'd never been before. In fact, very few British people had been there at that point in time. And I flew into Stavanger airport, where I was going to be met by the mum in a long red leather coat. However, she didn't make it, and the airport was very, very basic. It was an old military airport, yeah? And you're like, oh, okay. So you've come from Heathrow, which is big and fancy, into this shed. And then there was this copy of the Financial Times held up with my name written across the top of it. And I was like, hello. And I met the dad and he said, right, off we go. And we got in a taxi that took us down to the quayside to get on a ferry. Now, nobody had told me we were having to get on a ferry. And because I know nothing about Norway, it didn't even occur to me that I'd be living on an island. So we took a ferry to an island that was attached to two other islands by two small bridges, but not to the mainland. And it had one tiny little shop on the middle island that sold tobacco and chocolate, which is just hilarious because I come from England, okay, the edge of a conurbation, but it's, basically you are in touch with what's going on in the universe, and you're 18 years old and you can get to town, there's loads of people about, and then you're on an island in a fjord in Norway. It's like, what's this all about?
And you didn't know before?
No. See, I'm really good at going on adventures, Stefan. I just go. And the family were fantastic and still are today. I stayed with them for a year. There were 3 children, all under the age of 5 at the time. So the eldest was 4.5 then. And I went back a couple of times afterwards to join them on family holidays and help out, things like that. The eldest came over to stay with me when I eventually went to university in London. So she came over for a couple of weeks. And now today, actually, the eldest lives in London and her children are 6 and 5 years old. And I'm a grand au pair. Now that's got to be good, hasn't it?
That's
so
fantastic.
It wasn't just going for a year. Great friendship was formed. I learned so much from the family, and you know the mum had out of the 3 children, the youngest was only a baby when I got there. He was 4 months old. He's now my son's godfather, and of course she was tired, so she would be awake early in the morning with them, and then I would take over for a couple of hours and she'd go to sleep, and then late morning we would meet at the dining table with a large pot of tea and talk, and we'd talk maybe for half an hour or an hour, but we really chatted every day, and that was a fantastic thing, because I suppose there's only about 10 or 12 years between us in age, but we had friendship for each other, because quite often when you're a mum there is an isolation because you are so consumed with being mum, being wife. Her husband was setting up in a new business, so he was out an awful lot of hours and sometimes made it home for family dinner, varied, and so our relationship was key, and oh my god, I mean, we still talk for hours now, and it's the best thing. Okay, sometimes there's been years, as I was growing up, going through my late 20s perhaps, where I didn't speak to her very much, but I tell you what, when she got sent a wedding invitation, they all came. And by that time there was 4 children. And that was the first time my husband met them. So you see, that goes to show how tolerant my husband is, because he had no idea quite how important these people are. And the mum got up at our wedding reception to make a speech and said, hello, I'm Sam's other mother. And that's the way it has stayed, and it's really fantastic. I'd recommend it to anybody, because you learn so much and make great friendship, and you help yourself to grow up. You know, I mean, at that time, at that age, my mum was working full time, so I suppose the mum in Norway and we had more time together because she was at home. And so even though I was 18 and 19 years old and a young adult, I still needed to talk. I still needed to form my thinking. I still needed to evolve some really key values. I mean, a lot of that's instilled by the time you're 6, 7 years old, but then you're taking them to another level when you're an adult.
And also the fact
and
that
the experience I had within that family really did evolve those things and forms the basis of my business today. So they were talking a lot about business because they were creating business, and they've been magnificent what they do, and the values that they have about engagement and what is the right thing to do in business, and the fact that you can do these things in the right way without sacrificing your moral values or your energy or your family. This was all very important, and I was very much involved in those discussions, and I've been able to take that forward into my business throughout. And I still talk to them about my business today, and they know that I've grown it slowly because the family was more important, and we're growing very fast at the moment because son is doing his university stuff and doesn't need me quite so often, and so this is the right time to do it. And it's part of the reason why I'm sat here on the boat today working, because I know that being able to get away and have time out and changing the arena around you is really important, not just for me as an individual, but for me as a business person, so that I can be creative in my thoughts and responses and be able to deal with situations in a much more effective manner and have the energy that we all need to be dynamic going forward. I don't feel like I'm slugging myself in any way, because I'm taking care of myself, and I learned so much of that from being an au pair, and I'm so grateful that I still know these guys today. So obviously I'm speaking to you on my phone because my laptop died earlier, and I can see notifications coming up of photographs of one of the other kids' babies, and it's like, oh, it's just so cute. But I haven't met him yet because I haven't been to Norway because of COVID, and you just got this enrichment coming through in life, and being utterly selfish as a female, not so many decades ago, by my age, I would be a grandmother.
Yeah.
But we don't have children that young anymore. So being a grand au pair is an excellent alternative. It plugs a gap.
That's great. But did they have an au pair before you, or you were the first au pair in the family?
Hang on a second, I can't hear you. Ah.
Do you hear me?
Yes, got you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you the first au pair in the family?
I can't remember if they'd had help before. They certainly had help afterwards. And the mum had been an au pair in London.
Okay, so she already had an experience about being an au pair and what it meant.
Yeah. And she'd done some work in, I think it was Germany as well. So she did have an idea of what it meant, how it felt, and then added that to her as a character, so she knew how she wanted it to be successful with me. So yeah, that does help.
I think what is important is that on both sides, people, I mean, the au pair and the host family, both need to be open-minded. It's two different cultures that are going to live together for 1 year. And important fact is to be part of a family, to live as a single family, even if you are, like a cousin coming for a certain time. Because otherwise it will be difficult for the experience to be very successful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way of explaining it. It's not somebody who's lodging with you, and it's not somebody who's come to be your slave. Yeah. This is if you were bringing up children in a family with chores to do because you're sharing the workload, for example, it's more like that, except the person in the role of au pair has a few more chores to do than anybody else. But it's not a slave thing. And also, au pairs do not work 9 till 5. That's not all part of it, Yeah. You do a goodly amount of hours a day, but it's not the whole thing, because you're in that country to experience the country. You need to be able to still be, if you're 18 or 19 years old, you still need to be a teenager.
Yeah, you need to be able to meet, make new friends, discover the country, have your own experience as well outside of the family.
Yeah, absolutely. And the family needs to, or the parents need to make space so that the au pair can also have those friends round for dinner themselves, because it's their home too. So treat them as though you've suddenly got an older daughter or son, and that's how you want it to be. So it's like, well, we're going out Saturday night, you've got the kids, but have your mates round. Yeah, but not like a party.
Yeah.
But if you want to do a dinner or something, then that's fine, or watch a film, that's fine, so long as you're still babysitting. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. So treat them like that, not like a slave. There's somebody who's part of your family. I think the cousin analogy is actually a really good one you bring up there, Stefan. So it's nothing unusual in Norway or Scandinavian countries to have a niece or a nephew come and live with you, because they've grown up and gone to school in up the fjord, and that's fine to the end of primary education. But then when they need senior education, they need to come into town. And this is really, really normal. And so if you think about it in that context, that they're coming to stay with you, and they might be doing a bit of education, because often au pairs are going to do some education while they're living in your house. Yeah. And they're going to be helping because they're a grown-up member, and they're going to have a life.
That's great. And I think, your experience is just fantastic. And to be able to share someone's life in a way like that, with sharing the family life, is just fantastic, and a great experience as a teenager.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said right at the top of the conversation, if everything else hadn't happened that's come before, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that time as an au pair and that relationship is a vital part of making me the person I am today, and making me the business person I am today, and the mother and the wife that I am today.
Great. Lastly, to finish the discussion, maybe coming back to the business, what or maybe personal life, what are, you know, 2-3 best tips or advice that you would give to our listeners wanting to, you know, launch their business or to go into a franchise?
Oh, okay. So if you want, either route is actually going into business. It's just one that's a blank piece of paper and one you've got a defined process. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's the number one advice. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Hence the reason I'm happy to just sit here on a boat after being out sailing, cloud my hair back, it's been everywhere, red nose from the sunshine. Don't take yourself too seriously. Do you know what? You are good enough just the way you are, because yeah, you just have to know that, and that's fine. I think trust the process. So if there is a process that's been defined, you need to trust the process. But also, I talk about process as in being what's happening in life. Mm-hmm. You have to trust. If you start trying to map things out too much, be very too defined in what's going to happen, you're going to find out very quickly that it doesn't work like that. And you'll have spent hours and hours and hours making a plan that never happens.
Yeah, you need to have some flexibility.
Yeah, loads. Loads, so that you can really suck up all of those great ideas and opportunities that come along. Oh, what else would I say? Make sure you know what you want to get out of making all of this effort. Yeah. So for me,
a dream board.
Yeah, dream board is a really good idea. Get those pictures up. So yeah, my dream board, funny enough, had a yacht on it with the words liverboard. And now it's real. So yeah, make your dream board and say, well, how do I see this? Now, don't worry if you can't see it quite yet, it will come. Just put something on there. So if you like to have family meals every evening because you've got young children and you want to do the fresh cooking every day, put that on your vision board. You know what? That is good enough. It's a really important value to have. So put it on there. If keeping fit is something that's important to you, or getting out into the fresh air is important, put it on there. Or if it's spending time with your parents, put it on there. Because when you're caught in a hamster wheel, the corporate hamster wheel, invariably, those are the kinds of things that are talked about so much and are sacrificed nearly all of the time.
Yeah.
Or if you do slot them in on top, something else gives, something else breaks, something else doesn't happen. So getting those foundation values in place is really important. And a bit like, again, earlier in the conversation, saying you change a process, you need to go back and check all the foundations. When you grow, keep going back and checking those foundations. So as you grow as an individual, keep going back and checking those foundations. Are you seeing your mum enough? Are you getting enough fresh air? Are you seeing enough of the people that are important to you? Are you doing the hobby that you love? Are you expressing yourself in that way? Whatever those things are that went on the vision board originally, keep going back to them so that they don't get lost. Because as you grow as a business and as you grow as a business person, an individual, making sure that those things stay in place is really important, because you can lose it. You get sucked up into
I've seen it last year, where suddenly, you know, we had the business, despite the pandemic, we had the business growing, and at one point you have to step back and maybe use a business coach or a mentor to help you to step back, because you tend to be sucked into your day-to-day work. And you lose track of what is important in your life. You know, you don't have time to exercise. You don't have time to, call your children. And it's important maybe to say, okay, I'm taking too much on my shoulders. It's maybe time to hire. It's maybe time to subcontract part of the business. You know, hire an accountant or have somebody doing the social medias for you so that you free your personal time?
Yes. And also to ask yourself the question, why the hell are you doing so much?
Yeah.
Because it might not be that it needs farming out at all. It might be that you're just running too fast at things because you're trying to achieve perfection rather than just getting the job done, and done is better than perfect. And quite often that chase for perfection comes from an imbalance that's going on. Say your confidence has been taken off balance, which is what happened to so many of us last year as lockdowns kicked in, because we didn't know what to do. So we all just threw ourselves into our businesses. What can we do? How can we fix? What can I get right? Now, to a certain extent, I'd say that was necessary because you just needed to make damn sure it was going to come out the other end. But there comes a point where you have to say, stop. It will still be here. I need to walk away. And that brings me probably on to my biggest top tip about going into business, whether you go from a blank sheet of paper or a franchise structure. And I've done this right from the start. When you go on holiday, and you must take a holiday, or you take a weekend off and you must take that time off, you do not look at your emails. You do not talk to your staff. You do not talk to your customers. Time off is time off. It's as simple as that. Not only so that you can recharge, but also each time you go back to work, you will find out what didn't quite work whilst you were absent, and then you can make your process stronger. And that's how you do process development rather than definition. So when you take a week away and you leave everything at home, you go to another country, trust the process. You come back and you find out, how did your team get on? Do you know what? Your business will still be there. How did your team get on? What did they struggle with? What didn't go quite right? So then they know what they need to be evolving in, what they need to train on. And it also means you're forced into delegating.
Exactly. It's what I was going to say. It's important to hire the right persons and to delegate so that you are sure. Sometimes it's difficult when you are starting your business because you are alone and you don't have somebody else to help you. But as soon as the business can support another person, then it's important to delegate, to be able to, like you said, to cut off from the business when you are away and trust the person.
Yeah, and that's actually a very difficult step for a number of people to, a lot of business people to take. It is a limiter, it's a ceiling, it caps them. And the reason is because as humans, we've all got egos, and businesses are our children. And so we're really protective of them. And the thing is, do you know what? During the summer, most business people will send their kids off to summer camp. So send your business off to summer camp and then come back and see what happens. And do you know what? When your kid comes back from summer camp, they've had a great time. They've grown up. They've learned a whole new load of skills. So will your business. That's the way it works. So it's really important to do it. It's really important to do it because it allows your business to grow up. It's a child. It needs to grow up all of the time.
But it's true. It's like a child. If you want to cover your child, protect your child, and not some people, they don't want to send their children to summer camp because they are scared that something might happen to. But I mean, it's such a great experience. It makes them grow. They do different things. And when they come back, like you said, they are different in a good way.
Yeah. And do you know what? Parents do their very best, but it takes a village to raise a child. And it's the same with the business.
Yeah. Great. Samantha, if our listeners want to connect with you or want to learn more about your franchise business, what is the best way to connect with you? I will put the information in the podcast note.
Oh, great. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Yes. Right. Okay. So my mobile is 07985 28 1120, and that's a UK number. Or my email address is sam@domestic-angels.com. The website is franchise.domestic-angels.com. So hopefully you'll find us through that. Of course, we're on the social media platforms. But yeah, please get in touch, ask questions, even if you're just thinking of starting your own business, you've got an idea. I love a chat. So but yeah, please take an interest in, and also if any viewers just know of somebody who would really like to start a cleaning business but not quite sure where to start, or think they can do it but need some guidance, point them in our direction. You know, we've got years and years of experience. We started this in 2002. We know what we're doing. We're here for a reason.
Thanks a lot for joining the podcast, Samantha. I really enjoyed our discussion, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks.
Thanks for your time. Bye.